concerns in regards to those tests. So in most cases, I know across the districts, the nurses are using that prick where they prick the index finger, and then they draw a little bit of blood. So it's painless to some people, right? For most people, I must say.
Okay, so we talked about what all the activities and the testing for HIV week. But a lot of people are watching and they want to know a little bit about HIV and AIDS itself, right? So, Mr. Milton, tell me about HIV and AIDS. How is it transmitted, and the statistics of HIV and AIDS among young people today.
Okay. Well, HIV is a virus. And a lot of people sometimes call people who have HIV instead of person have AIDS, but that's not the case. When you have the virus, it's human immunodeficiency virus. And it first starts off as that, being infected with HIV. And what happens in a nutshell is that the HIV virus uses your white blood cell to make copies of itself. And over time, it kills off your immune system, it kills off those white blood cells, so your body can't fight off infection anymore. And the infection you get is what actually kills you. But before you reach that stage and your immune system falls below what you'd call normal range, if it falls below 200, you're said to be somebody living with AIDS. That's when you develop that. And when you have AIDS, that's when your body is vulnerable to different types of infections, and the infection is what kills you, not having AIDS. So there's a difference between being HIV positive and having AIDS, and there's a difference between somebody living with the virus and somebody actually dying from infections when they have reached that stage of having AIDS. And transmission-wise, it's pretty much the body fluids that are thicker in your system. It's the blood, the pre-cum, semen, vaginal fluid. For pregnant mothers, it's their breast milk. And what happens is if you come in contact with that body fluid, either by sex or a mother could pass it on to her baby, if not through childbirth or carrying the baby to term. If she breastfeed the baby, she could pass on the virus that way. But through sex, there's different levels of transmission. One of them is oral sex, which is mouth to vagina or mouth to penis. And the other one is through vaginal intercourse, which is penis to the vagina intercourse. And of course, anal sex, which is more risky because you have wear and tear and the person becomes exposed to blood during that, as well as, like I mentioned before, those body fluids. You have semen and pre-cum that would transmit the virus. So take into consideration all those body fluids and how a person could be vulnerable to it during those actions: oral sex, vaginal sex, anal sex. That's how it's transmitted. You don't have to worry about sweat, tears, or saliva. You could come in contact with that easy. There's no way you'll be infected with HIV.
And why are young people more at risk for this virus?
Well, young people, believe it or not, it's a situation of what are their ability to negotiate when it comes to condom use. And if you have an older person literally taking advantage of a younger person, even, like age of consent, 16 years old, all right, that person can have sex. But if the person they're having sex with is in their 20s or 30s, that person already had a number of sexual partners. And their exposure to different infections throughout the years, they could pass that on to the younger person. You're a virgin, this is your first time, you're naive about what sort of threats are out there, STIs, HIV. And somebody comes along and wine and dine you and everything, and they say, hey babe, I'm safe, you don't have to worry about nothing. Next thing you know, you have an infection.
Okay.
So
Heidi, before we get more into the wine and dining, we should go into our second commercial break for the show.
Are you a youth who wants to make a difference?
Then visit the BFLA Youth Center.
A cool, safe, positive place
with games, reading materials,
supervised internet access for assignments,
and qualified staff to discuss those issues that sometimes make us feel uncomfortable.
It's a place where you get together with other youth, exchange ideas, support each other, and build leadership and life skills. The Belize Family Life Association Youth Center, making a positive difference.
Gal can catch a fire. Fling out, fling out, fling out, gal. Fling out, fling out, fling out, fling out, gal. Fling out, gal. Who know fi wine inna the road? Rock out on the line inna the road. All the treasure wanna find inna the road. Don't stop sign inna the road, gal. Who know fi wine inna the road? Rock out on the line inna the road. All the treasure wanna find inna the road. Don't stop signing on the road. Bounce a wanna feed the girl them bubble pan. If you love to see the girl them a bubble, put up your hand. You play a song, the girl star bus blank. Now the girl them time, play a song, the girl white. Big selector a play, you no rookie. Catch the baseline, watch the girl them a should be. Hey, when the girl them a dip it and a drop it, you a funny man. If you not happy, follow me then. Girl a dash out, so me glad me come out. Ready for left, what you talking about? Road me live, me no want see no house. We are rave and a wave.
For that special someone, choose wisely, use responsibly.
Thinking about getting a new number just for your home or business? Well, Smart's got the answer for you. Introducing Smart's new home phone bundle package. Get the AWP Z100 and the Yagi antenna, both for only $199 with caller ID, SMS, call history, and more. Smart's new home phone. It's affordable, it's dependable, and guess what? It's portable. Don't miss a thing. Get all your calls for your home and business. Visit any showroom and get your home phone today.
Smart, bringing people together.
Looking for a new lunch spot? Well, welcome to Tony's Barbecue, serving Belize City from Northern Highway outside of Sayview Supermarket. Seating is available, or you can quickly take your lunch to go. Tony's Barbecue is open Thursday to Saturday on the Northern Highway. Tony's Barbecue serves a variety of meats, including chicken, beef, and pork. A wide selection of choices for your meal. From kebabs to ribs to steak or sausages, served with beans and tortillas. Drinks are also available for purchase. We hope to see you soon. Tony's Barbecue. Mm-mm-mm.
Tearing up this rubber, it's hot from all the way.
Let's say the culture here is a little diverse. For example, our languages. The official is English, some people speak Spanish, others speak Creole. Some of us also speak Garifuna and 3 different Maya dialects. It's amazing, right?
Start smiling and see what it might bring.
But above all, we all speak one language in common. One that doesn't need dictionaries, because instead of letters and words, it uses hugs and smiles. The same language as sharing a Coca-Cola, the language of happiness.
Hummingbird Furnishings is proud of its unique blend of wicker, rattan, wood, bamboo, and resin outdoor products made for domestic and commercial use. We continually strive not only to create beautiful work of art, but furniture that will last a lifetime. Each piece is intricately hand-woven and manufactured with the finest materials and craftsmanship available. Thorough inspections are executed as products progress through each department, assuring our customers the highest quality. Let us help you to create your very own masterpiece. Visit us in San Pedro, Placencia, or Belmopan. Browse our website www.hummingbirdfurnishings.com or call us at 822-3164. Hummingbird Furnishings, beautiful furniture built to last a lifetime.
vision, greater action. By youths, for youths, building our nation. Coming to you live, bringing you facts. Youths on the movement, call it Big Chatz. Great vision, greater action. By youths, for youths, building our nation. Coming to you live, bringing you facts. Youths on the movement, call it Big Chatz. That's right, we back on the movement. Fresh new season.
And welcome back to Big Chatz. Of course, I'm your girl, Haidia Galanche, aka Lady Spice. I'm in the building. So, of course, let me just big up our sponsors again for the show: United Nation Population Fund, Summit Foundation, the Belize Red Cross, You Agent for Change, Smart, Bowen & Bowen, Tony's Barbecue, Hummingbird Furnishing, the Belize Family Life Association, Global Parish Project, the Youth Advocacy Movement members and their families, and a Studio Grill 88. All right, Crystal, let us have the second question.
Yes, our second giveaway for today, the winner will receive 2 barbecues from Tony's Barbecue and 4 soft drinks. And the question is, name 3 risk factors that contribute to the rise of HIV rates. Rise of HIV rates. You can text your answer at our number 623-8490. I repeat the question. Name 3 risk factors that contribute to the rise of HIV rates. And please include your first and last name in the text as well.
All right, so if you'd like to win that, what would they win, Crystal?
They will receive 2 barbecues from Tony's Barbecue and 4 soft drinks.
All right, so you have your lunch right there. Yep. 2 barbecue from Tony's Barbecue and those 4 thirsty-looking nice soft drinks over there at Crystal. Right? 623-8490, guys. Text it up. All right. So jumping back into our discussion.
The wine and dine session.
Yes, this wine and dine thing that we're talking about before we had to go to our communication corner now, to our commercial break. Tell us what you were saying about you said that you have the sugar daddy, sugar mama syndrome with some of the risk factors. Tell me a little bit more about that.
I know we call it that sugar daddy, sugar mama. It's more like exploiting because the young person is pretty much at the control, beck and call of this person that is the adult that has pretty much, I say, coerce them into sex, not using a condom, not protecting themselves, giving them the idea that they'll be safe, they'll be okay. So that pretty much is one of the risk factors for young people. And the other one is young people who are already having sex and having multiple partners and they're not using protection also increase their risk. And it's not just that you're having sex with a lot of people. If you just have sex with one person that's HIV positive, that's enough. So it's about them being aware of what their risk factors are, using a condom every time they have sex, knowing their partner. Like what the testing is all about is just that. Get tested, know yourself, know your status, know your partner's status, so that if you're gonna have unprotected sex or not using a condom, unsafe sex, then you know where you are when it comes to that. In terms of, it's not really equal across the board for male and female, because for young men, there's this whole bravado thing that's going on. And it's not just Belize, this is worldwide. We always give the impression that guys are much more at less risk of anything. It's always the female that they look at as being the most vulnerable. But in terms of youth, or in terms of people in general, it's pretty much across the board. Everybody's at risk for HIV infection. Everybody at risk for STI. It's just that women are more at risk because their biology. The vagina is more open to infection. The surface area of it allows the virus time to find a way in. And pretty much that whole situation of being coerced into sex. Like what we talked about earlier about young people having the power to say no. Young people having that assertiveness when it comes to how their body would be used. So
I'd also like to add on into that. In regards to risk perception, as young individuals like ourselves, many of us don't really worry pretty much about HIV itself. However, they are more fearful of teenage pregnancy as opposed to, you know, I mean, I've sit down and talked to many youths and they're like, oh, I don't worry about HIV. I can't catch that, but I worry about, you know, somebody
Getting
get me
pregnant
pregnant,
or-
you know, in that kind of
yeah.
way. And so the perception of the risk their assessment of risk sometimes eliminates their actual reality of being able or actually being at risk for sexual transmitted infections in general. Like Eckert mentioned, the rapid exposure, because I could tell you, I mean, back then, you had a girlfriend or a boyfriend every 2 weeks, because they never buy you the chicken where you want, or no had one argument, don't had any quarrel and stuff and things like that. I mean, the relationships they end, they're severed pretty quickly, you know, and so that could also means that an individual can be sexually exposed a numerous amount of times, you know, and so as usual, sexual exploitation beyond that, the sexual act itself constantly with different individuals do pose you at risk. Again, I want to put in that the perception of me being a young person not having the authority to say no. In many cases, these sugar daddies, they I mean, hey, they run things. If you don't give me the $100, if I don't get if I don't do what you want, I do my hair and I look good. I don't get my clothes. I want it bav.
Yeah.
As a matter of fact, you're gonna go find somebody else who want to do exactly what I want to do. So I don't have nothing else, no other option, but for do exactly what you want. Because I don't want to left you.
Okay.
You know, this kind
I
of
get
thing.
you talking about back then. So talk to me like what you see differently from well, I know you know, well, I don't want to say back then because you're not that old, but like when you comparing, like maybe you could throw in a little bit about the statistics too about you use the term, let's go use the word term back then, compare it to now. You see like more young, this sugar daddy syndrome about more, or you see like more young people now more at risk. They're doing things to put themselves more at risk in these times right now.
Well, I think that it's been constant, to be honest, but I think there's an increase because there's many creative ways or creative methods in which these relationships are evolving. Back then, I didn't have Facebook. I had High Five, which was probably like 5 years, right? But the interaction in regards to cyber education, cyber communication, cyber sex, it's really present within our population, right, as is, and I think that a lot has not been done in regards to that, but that is one of our main ways. I see it on and off constantly that the same cyber communication has allowed more rampant communications and more rampant infections. Looking at the statistics for the past 3 years between the ages of 15 to 19, and you look specifically between the ages of 35 to 49, there's a 2-to-1 ratios, but it's vice versa. In age 15 to 19, you have more females than males, 2-to-1, being infected, and while in age 35 to 49, you have that same effect, but more males are infected than the females. So you could see across, you could. I mean, I'm not any kind of scientist, and I don't say that so, but I could make a relation in regards to, hey, this could mean the same sugar daddy issue that we are seeing, and then also we need to also realize that gender, we can't be blind and say, oh, this thing only affect women. Men also, young men also are affected by what, well, I have no better term, but the cougars that are out there and their exposures to that specific sorry for that specific issue itself. But men and female, young men and female, like Eckert have been mentioning, are being exploited on a day-to-day basis, and yes, it is occurring in our country.
Okay.
So
I have another question, but before I get to that question, I wanted to ask you, a viewer texting Crystal a question, so let us get to that.
Viewer texted in and asked, how long can a person live with the HIV virus before taking a test and it giving a positive result?
Well, there is something called our term is for that specific situation is the window period. The HIV virus enters into the system and takes a couple months for it to show up in the system. Sometimes 6 to 3 months for it to actually be detected by an HIV test. So the period within that process is called the window period, meaning that the waiting period for it show up, right? Also on that note, people who are infected with HIV can live as long as it really depends on an individual. It depends upon their adherence to medication, etc., getting tested, all of that. Once you have that knowledge, you can live a regular life. I constantly say this thing that like diabetes, that like hypertension, all of those stuff, you just have to continuously take your treatment. Within my exposure to the actual work itself, I have known several persons who I feel sometimes look healthier than me and are affected with HIV, and I know one that's living now for 23 years with HIV and has probably lived a healthier and more like fulfilling life than I do at this point in time. But again, as long as you continuously take care of yourself, then there is no stopping. HIV shouldn't affect you the way people perceive it does.
Okay. So in this portion of the show, we will now go into our drug tip.
Remember, you don't need drugs or alcohol. If you think everybody is doing it, you're wrong. There are many teens that haven't used any drugs at all. Remember, using drugs even one time can kill you. Death can occur in many different ways. So remember, say no to drugs.
And that was the drug tip. Jumping back into our discussion, anybody, as I said, anybody can jump in. Talk to us about the social norms as it relates to HIV and AIDS.
Well, what we're seeing with the transmission is that young people are not as affected as we think, but they're still at risk. We can't just not work with young people and say, stop doing prevention work because it's more of the older persons that are getting infected. Information is now the key to prevention and keeping people informed, but not just that. It's also about changing behavior. Some of the norms that you notice in Belize is that we have this, it used to be a situation where the guy would ask the girl out. Now it's more of young ladies pretty much asking the guys out.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I've been approached. and the situation with that.
Please don't say you have been approached too.
So,
no, man, I just want to say crickets.
what happened is
Sorry.
the old style of doing things is out the window. I mean, you don't have that classic view of relationships anymore. You have people who have multiple partners. They're not necessarily committed to either one. You have people who are just basically booty call type of situation. And with that, knowing the status of those persons, and even so, because you know what you do, but do you know what your partners are doing? That's the problem. So consistently using condoms is one of the ways you could protect yourself if you're sexually active. For young persons, we advise to them that abstinence is the best way to go about it. Once you know to share those body fluids, you're good. Until you're ready to engage in sex, make sure you get tested, make sure your partner get tested, and then you're good. But for people who are engaging in sex, their option is using a condom consistently, properly, every time. The trick of that is getting them to realize that very early on, because once you get into a behavior, it becomes your habit, and then that becomes your everyday life. I mean, you just continuously do it, and trying to change that will be the hardest thing. So getting young people from the very beginning to understand what is out there when it comes to sex and how they could prevent getting infected is a very, very good way to go when it comes to getting rid of HIV, getting us down to 0 by 2015, hopefully.
I think another social norm that we need to address is the attitude towards males seeking healthcare services. I think that across the board, I've seen this over and over every day, especially when I do intervention with males. A lot of their excuses for not taking a test is that, oh, my wife don't take a test. She just cheat, not that she want baby, but had a baby. And because of this, they feel like they're not at risk because them wife supposedly gone through all these testing procedures and they're clean, so they feel like they're clean. Also, I think a lot of people think that it's very emasculate. Is there such a word? Is there such a term? That men go out there and say, hey, I want to go take on lead tests. I want to go and take my checkups. You know, I myself sometimes mess up in regards to, doing this procedure or taking these specific things. Not necessarily, but maybe because I don't got time. But there's a lot of people and a lot of our cultures, we do things that promotes these attitudes, right? And again, if we're going to fight this epidemic, we need to make sure that we do it together and not necessarily omit a certain species per se, right? Or a certain gender. I think basically, if we continue doing that, then we will continue to promote that same promiscuous behavior of men just going about doing whatever they feel like, or females or whatever. Because then again, I mean, everybody seems to be doing it. The promiscuity, the multiple sex partners, and it's actually normal. I mean, I've sit around tables whereby everybody's admitting that, yeah, I have a leap on the side, I go eat my little chicken and stuff, and I get my little stuffings, and I go home, and everything's alright, and I go home and I play like...
They talk about it like it's okay.
Like it's really okay. As a matter of fact, they brag about it. It's like, you should have known it happened. In some cases, they're sharing no matter, but now another episode, right? But again, the behaviors and us seeing these particular issues as being normal.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right?
So now we will jump into Youth on Blast.
Youth on blast, big Chatz giving you that youth on blast. Actors, rappers, show your craft. Dancers, singers, do your thing. Can I get a couple of them poets in? Can I hear that spoken word? Voice of the youths out to the world, painting pictures in your mind. This that place and it's that time for youth on blast, 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 youth on blast. For GBBYAM. Youth on Blast on Big Chatz is being brought to you by the Global Porridge Project and Youth Voices.
Good afternoon, Belize. Welcome to another segment of Youth on Blast on Big Chatz, brought to you by Youth Voices and the Global Porridge Project. My name is Raheem, and today I have the lovely Miss Aja Jenkins here with us to share her talent. How do you feel this morning?
I'm okay, thank you.
So Aja, tell me and tell Belize what you do.
Well, from ever since I was a little girl, I love singing. I found my passion in singing. I had started doing poetry recently, about a year or two ago, and I found that it's something that I rather enjoy as well.
What have you... So Aja, the last question I want to ask you, there are two questions in one. What have you done recently, and what is to expect?
Well, I recently sung for the football telethon that raised funds to send our boys, the Jaguars, to go represent us in the US. I also did a concert for that same benefit along with Miss Tanya Carter, Melanie Gillett, and some other Belizean artists that you know, to raise more money for the Jaguars. In the future, I plan to use my talent to benefit Belize by probably organizing some sort of events or something to promote positivity.
Alright, Aja, which song you have prepared to sing to show Belize a little bit?
Well, I can do Stay for you guys if that's okay.
Sure.
He said, if you dare, come a little